Captain Haniel stood in the command room of the Global Defense Network as the strange signal played once more. It was broken, filled with static, and carried a strange echo, but its message was clear enough. Someone far away was begging for help. No one knew who they were. No one knew what danger they faced. But the fear in their voice was real. Earth had received many signals from the stars before, most of them peaceful. This one was different. The message repeated over and over, as if whoever sent it had no time left. Some parts of the message were too damaged to understand, but the final line always came through. Please. Anyone who can hear us, help. Haniel listened again, trying to understand what kind of terror pushed someone to send a message like that. He was not a man who frightened easily, but the scream at the end of the recording unsettled even him. It was raw. It was desperate. Around him, technicians moved between glowing screens, speaking quickly as they checked the signal's origin. A young technician looked up and said, "Captain, the source is confirmed. The signal is coming from a colony world named Lanthea. It is far outside our usual patrol routes." Another added, "We do not know who lives there. The colony was not founded by Earth. It is unknown territory." The room fell silent. Unknown territory meant unknown danger. Minutes later, the leaders of Earth's defense forces agreed on a plan. They would send a small but elite strike team, a fast response force, a group known for handling the toughest conditions. They chose Haniel's team. Sergeant Dury arrived first. He carried his helmet under his arm and wore a calm, steady expression. Dury was known for keeping his cool, even when everything fell apart. "So it is true," Dury said. "We are going to answer the signal?" Haniel nodded. "We are, and we do not know what waits for us." Next came Lieutenant Myra, sharp-eyed and confident. She was one of the best tacticians in the entire force. She crossed her arms as she listened to the message. "Whoever sent this must be in real danger," Myra said. "No one screams like that unless something terrible is happening." Corporal Sori entered the room right behind her, carrying a pack full of medical gear. She had a strong sense of duty, and nothing angered her more than innocent people being hurt. "If survivors are still there," Sori said, "we need to find them fast." Last was Specialist Tasek, the youngest of the team. He was brilliant with machines and signals. He had already begun studying the strange call. "There is something strange here," Tasek said. "The signal is very old, but it keeps repeating. It is not natural. Someone set it to play again and again, because they knew they might not survive long enough to send it twice," Myra said quietly. The room grew still. Every member of the team understood the weight of that idea. Not long after, the team boarded the Resolute Dawn, one of Earth's fastest long-range ships. The moment they stepped inside, the engines hummed to life. The ship's walls were clean silver, and the lights glowed a soft blue. It felt peaceful, but everyone knew that peace would end once they arrived at Lanthea. As the ship launched, Earth grew smaller behind them. Stars stretched into long white lines as the ship jumped into hyperspace. During the journey, the team prepared. Haniel gathered everyone in the training room. "We do not know what we will find," he said. "We only know someone begged for help and that no one else answered. We will be the first, maybe the only. So we make sure we do it right," Dury added. The team trained for hours. Myra reviewed maps and attack patterns. Sori checked medical supplies again and again. Tasek stayed in his corner, headphones on, studying the signal in every possible way. After several hours, he walked to Haniel. "Captain," he said, "I think I found something. There is a second message hidden under the first one. Very faint, almost impossible to hear. But I think someone tried to say the name of the enemy." "What name?" Haniel asked. Tasek hesitated. It sounds like ... Voris. He shook his head. I do not know who or what that is. It might be a species or a group. But the tone of the speaker changes when they say it. They sound afraid. Fear was something warriors understood well. If the sender feared the Voris that much, then the threat must be serious. Later, in the dining area, Mira and Sori sat together. They usually worked well, but the tension of the unknown made their words sharp. We should prepare heavy weapons, Mira said. If the enemy wiped out whole settlements, we need strong firepower. Sori frowned. But what if there are survivors everywhere? Heavy fire could harm them too. We must be careful. Careful soldiers die first, Mira replied. Careless soldiers kill the wrong people, Sori said. Their voices grew louder until Haniel stepped between them. Enough, he said. We will choose our weapons once we see the situation. Not before. Both women nodded, though they still looked upset. Hours later, the ship shook violently. Alarms blared. The crew grabbed onto walls and railings as the lights flickered. What is happening? Duri shouted. The pilot's voice came through the intercom. We hit a gravity rift. Hold on. Space bent around them. The stars twisted into spirals. The hull groaned like it would tear apart. For a moment, everyone thought the ship might break. But slowly, the shaking eased. The alarms quieted. The lights stopped flickering when the danger passed. The crew sighed in relief. We almost died before the mission even started, Taysak muttered. But we did not, Haniel said. And that means we keep going. The team gathered once more as the Resolute Dawn neared Lanthea. Taysak finished his latest scan and looked troubled. Captain, he said softly, I think the signal is older than we thought. Maybe weeks old. Maybe months. The room fell silent. Then the people who sent it ... double quotes, Sori started. May already be gone, Mira finished, but Haniel shook his head. We do not assume that. Not until we see the truth with our own eyes. He looked at each of them in turn. Someone cried for help. Now we are the ones answering. Whatever waits for us, whatever danger is on that planet, we will face it together. No one argued. Everyone understood. The final hours of the journey passed in quiet focus. Weapons were checked. Armor was sealed. Every member of the team prepared their mind and body. When the stars came back into view and the ship slowed from hyperspace, the world of Lanthea appeared on the screen. Its surface was dark in many places, as if cities had burned. Duri whispered, We are too late, but Haniel stepped forward. We are never too late, he said. Not until we see for ourselves. The ship moved toward the wounded world. The team stood ready. The unknown awaited them, but Earth had heard the cry for help, and they had come. Whatever had happened on Lanthea, they would face it, together. The stars stretched like threads of white light as the Resolute Dawn continued its long journey through hyperspace. Inside the ship, silence filled the halls, except for the soft hum of engines. The crew felt the weight of the unknown as they moved from room to room, preparing themselves for what waited on Lanthea. Captain Haniel walked through the training deck, watching his team. He saw the tension in their movements, the way their eyes kept drifting toward the windows, as if hoping to see the planet before they arrived. It was natural. Fear always grew strongest when the danger was still unseen. Sergeant Duri was practicing hand-to-hand drills with a training drone. He moved with calm strength, striking only when needed, conserving energy with every motion. He saw Haniel and nodded once. Still no new information? Duri asked. Nothing more, Haniel said. Taysak is trying to clean the signal again, but it is too damaged. Duri stopped the drone and leaned on the railing. The screen in the message. It does not sound like an animal. It sounds intelligent. It sounds terrified. Haniel agreed silently. He could still hear the scream every time he closed his eyes. Meanwhile, Taeseok stayed in the comms room, surrounded by screens filled with waves and lines. His fingers moved over controls, trying to pull out even a single clear detail. Come on. Just a little more? He murmured dot, but the signal refused to clean itself. The static remained thick, like something was blocking it. Mira entered the room without knocking. Still nothing useful? Taeseok sighed. I got a few more fragments. Mostly panic. Footsteps. Breathing. But nothing that helps us understand the enemy. That is enough to tell us one thing, Mira said. Whoever they are, they hit fast and hard. Sori stepped in from behind her. We should think about survivors. There might be injured people down there. Even if the message is old, someone could still be alive. Myra crossed her arms. Or no one is alive. You cannot assume the best every time. Sori narrowed her eyes. And you assume the worst too quickly. Taeseok looked between them. Please, do not fight here. The room is too small for this. Myra and Sori both stepped back. They were tired. They were worried. And that made every small disagreement sharper. The captain gathered everyone in the briefing room a short time later. He stood near the large display where Lanthia's incomplete map flickered. Listen, Haniel said, his voice steady. We have trained for many missions, but this one is different. There is no history, no reliable information, nothing except one broken call for help. That means we prepare for everything. Heavy weapons? Mira asked. Yes, but we keep stun rounds and rescue gear ready as well, Haniel replied. Sori nodded with approval. Duri asked, has the ship picked up anything else from the planet? Any signs of life? Not from this distance, Haniel said. Once we exit hyperspace, scans should work better. The meeting continued as the team discussed landing plans, evacuation paths, and emergency signals. Even though they did not know what waited, they did everything they could to prepare. Later, the crew moved to the dining hall for a short break. Food tasted plain, but it warmed them. The hall lights were dim, giving a soft glow to the metal walls. You know, Duri said, taking a bite, I keep thinking about the people who sent the message. It takes courage to ask for help from strangers. They must have run out of choices. Or hope, Myra added. SOR, I set her tray down. Hope is not useless. People fight harder when they believe help is coming. That might be why they kept the signal running. Taeseok stopped eating for a moment. I heard breathing in the message. Very fast breathing. Like someone running. And then a loud crash. Then silence for a long time before the scream. Whoever recorded it. They were trying to warn us, not only ask for help. The table went quiet. Everyone understood what he meant. If someone sent a warning, then the danger was something Earth had never seen before. In the engineering bay, a low alarm suddenly sounded. Not a dangerous one, but a signal that the ship was nearing the transition point out of hyperspace. Haniel's voice came through the speakers. Everyone, prepare. We exit hyperspace in 2 hours. Final checks only. The team moved quickly. Weapons were sealed. Armor batteries were charged. Scanners were tested. Even the smallest error could mean death once they reached the planet. Sori performed a last check on the medical kits. She counted each tool slowly. Antiseptic injectors clean. Foam sealers full. Energy bandages ready. She whispered to herself, please let someone be alive down there. Please. Myra passed behind her. For once, her voice softened. If someone is alive, we will find them. That is why we are here. Sori looked up, surprised by the gentleness. Mira gave a small nod and walked away. Meanwhile, Duri cleaned his blade, even though he knew it was already spotless. Nervous? Taesak asked, watching from a nearby seat. Of course, Dury said. Only fools enter danger without fear. But fear is good. It reminds us to stay sharp. Taesak nodded. I hope I stay sharp too. You will, Dury said. You are the one who keeps our signals alive. Without you, we walk blind. The words seemed to comfort Taesak a little dot as the 2-hour mark approached. The captain stood in the ship's central walkway. His team gathered around him. The engines changed tone, preparing to drop out of hyperspace. Listen carefully, Haniel said. The moment we exit, we will scan the planet. There may be survivors, or there may be enemies waiting. Stay calm, stay ready. The ship trembled softly. The lights flickered once. Then, with a sudden jolt, hyperspace peeled away. The view outside the windows changed instantly. A blue and green planet hung in the darkness, but too much of its surface was covered in dark burn marks. Fires still glowed in some regions, tiny orange dots scattered across the continents. My God? Mira whispered. Sori covered her mouth. It looks like half the world was attacked. Taesak's scanners lit up with red warnings. Energy signatures everywhere. Many are gone now, cold and empty, but some are still moving. Survivors? Dury asked. Possibly, Taesak said. Or something else. Haniel watched the damaged planet for a long moment. Then he turned to his team. Get ready to deploy. We go down there. We find answers. We help whoever needs us. The transport bay opened with a heavy metallic sound. The team's shuttle was already prepared, its engines glowing softly. Armor plates reflected the bright lights as each member stepped inside. Sori strapped her gear tightly. Mira loaded her weapon with steady hands. Dury took the front seat. Taesak checked the scanners one last time. Haniel stood near the ramp and looked at his team. We do not know what waits for us, he said, but we go as we always do, together. The ramp closed. The engines roared. The shuttle descended toward the wounded world below, and the real mission began. The shuttle broke through the thin clouds of Lanthea, shaking slightly as it entered the planet's lower atmosphere. Captain Haniel kept his eyes on the display in front of him, where the surface of the world grew clearer. Gray smoke rose from cracked cities. Forests were torn apart, burned into black lines. Far away, something exploded, sending a brief flash of orange into the sky. It looks worse than I expected, Dury said, gripping the controls. We focus, Haniel replied softly. We land, we search, we survive. Taesak's scanner beeped again and again. I am picking up life signs, faint, very faint. But they are there, not far from the landing zone. Sori's breath caught. Then someone is alive. We have to help them quickly. Their signals are weak. Myra was already checking her weapon. We do not know what else is out there. Stay sharp. The ground rushed toward them. With a heavy thud, the shuttle landed on cracked soil. The ramp opened slowly, letting in a wave of hot wind and dust that smelled like ash. The world was too quiet, too empty. Dury stepped out first, scanning the area. No movement yet, but stay close. The team moved forward carefully. The sky was dim, even though it was daytime, as if smoke and dust had turned the sun into a weak, pale circle. Buildings near the landing zone stood half destroyed. Windows were shattered. Walls were burned. Everything around them told a story of sudden violence. Taesak tapped his scanner. The life signs are ahead. Inside that broken building. The group approached slowly. Myra took the front with Dury. Haniel signaled everyone to stay silent. When they entered the building, they saw the floor covered in debris. Pieces of ceiling hung in long broken shapes. The air was thick with dust. This place was hit hard, Sori whispered Dot. Suddenly Tazak raised a hand. There, behind that wall. Someone is moving. Dury stepped forward and pushed aside a fallen metal beam. Behind it, a small group of civilians huddled together. Their clothes were torn, and their faces were thin from hunger. A young woman stood first, her eyes wide with fear. "Don't hurt us, please." Sori rushed to her with open hands. "We are here to help. We came from Earth." The woman stared for a long moment before her shoulders relaxed. "Earth, you answered the call?" "We weren't sure anyone would hear it. We lost hope many times." Haniel knelt beside an older man sitting against the wall. His leg was badly wounded. "We received your message. What happened here? Who attacked you?" The woman swallowed hard. "The Vorhis. They arrived without warning. They told us to surrender. We tried to talk to them, but they did not want peace. They only wanted control. And then," her voice cracked, "they started destroying everything." Myra's jaw tightened. "How many of them are there?" "Too many," she whispered. "And they are watching everything. They hunt anyone who tries to run." Sori began treating the injured man's leg, spraying a sealing foam that hissed softly. "How long have you been here?" she asked. "Days. Maybe longer," the woman replied. "We hid when we could. Some people escaped to the hills, but many were caught." Tasek looked around the ruins. "Did you send the signal?" The woman shook her head. "No, that was Commander Rial. He was at the central communications tower. We do not know what happened to him. The tower fell 2 days later." She lowered her voice. "We thought he died." Hanuel exchanged a look with Myra. If the message was weeks old, then the commander had held the tower far longer than expected. It meant he fought until the end. Just then, a loud sound echoed outside. A crashing step. Then another dot. The civilians froze in terror. "They found us," the older man whispered. Dury signaled everyone to spread out. The team took defensive positions near broken walls. Myra looked through a crack in the building. "Something is moving out there. It is big." A shadow passed by the entrance. Heavy breathing shook the air. Then a creature stepped inside Dot. It was tall, much taller than a human, and covered in thick black armor like skin. Its head was narrow with sharp ridges, and its arms ended in long claw-like fingers. The creature let out a low growl as its glowing yellow eyes scanned the room. "For his scout," Myra whispered. The creature rushed forward with shocking speed. Haniel shouted, "Engage!" Dury blocked the first attack, sliding back from the impact. The creature's strength was incredible. Myra fired controlled shots, hitting its shoulder and slowing it down. The Vorhis roared and turned toward her. "Over here!" Dury shouted, drawing its attention. Taysak pulled the civilians back as Sori shielded them. Haniel stepped forward and fired a stun round directly into the creature's chest. The impact sent a wave of energy through its body. The creature staggered. Mira followed with another shot to its legs. Finally, Dury struck the side of its head with the blunt end of his weapon. The creature fell to the ground, shaking before it went still. Silence returned, broken only by the heavy breathing of the team. The civilians stared in shock. "You? You killed it," the young woman whispered. "We handled it," Haniel corrected her gently. "And there may be more coming. We cannot stay here." Tasek scanned the area again. The creature likely sent a signal before entering. "We have limited time before others arrive." Myra helped Sori finish treating the wounded civilians. "We move them to the shuttle. Then we find the next group." The civilians hesitated. "But there are still others out there. In the old mining camp. We heard them last night. Please, you must help them too." Haniel stood quietly for a moment. The mission was already growing more complicated. But the rules of their team were clear. "We help everyone we can," he said. Dury nodded. "Then we rescue them next." The team began guiding the civilians back toward the shuttle. Smoke drifted across the ground as they moved, and every sound made them tense, knowing more creatures could appear. When they finally reached the shuttle, Sori helped the civilians inside. The older man held her hand tightly. "Thank you," he whispered. "We thought no one would ever come." Sori smiled gently. "You are safe now. Stay inside and do not leave until we return." The shuttle door closed. Hani looked toward the horizon, where a long dark line of destroyed buildings stretched. "The mining camp is 2 kilometers away," Taysak said. "If anyone is alive, they do not have much time left." Mira loaded a fresh energy cell into her weapon. "Then we move fast." Dury took the lead, his voice calm. "Stay close." Eyes open, the team started their march toward the mining camp. The wind carried faint distant screams, real or imagined. No one could tell. But one thing was certain. They were no longer alone on this world. The Vorhis knew Earth had arrived. The walk to the old mining camp was slow and tense. Every step the team took was careful. Every sound made them stop and listen. The wind carried dust across the broken land, and parts of the ground were so burned that the soil had turned dark like coal. The sky above them was red and gray, as if the planet itself was wounded. Dury walked ahead with his weapon raised, scanning for movement. Mira followed close behind him, watching the shadows. Hanuel walked in the center, keeping the group steady. Sori and Taysak stayed near the back, checking their equipment and watching for anything that tried to follow. "The mining camp should be close," Taysak said, looking down at his scanner. "The life signs are faint, but they are there." Sori's face tightened with worry. "If they are faint, they might be injured. We must hurry." Hanuel nodded. "But we do not run blindly. The Vorhis might be near. Stay alert." They continued walking until the ground began to slope downward. At the bottom of the slope stood the old mining camp. Metal towers were bent in strange shapes. Storage buildings were half collapsed. The large mining cranes looked like broken skeletons stretching into the air. A long silence fell over the team. "It looks like a graveyard," Mira said softly. Dury pointed to a cluster of small shelters near the center. "The signals are coming from there." As the team approached the shelters, Taysak suddenly lifted his hand. "Wait, something is moving near the far building." Everyone crouched low. Hanuel raised his binocular device. Through the haze, he saw a figure thin, limping, trying to drag something heavy. "It's a person," Hanuel whispered. "They are pulling another survivor." Sori stepped forward instantly. "We need to help them." Before anyone could stop her, she started running. "Sori, wait!" Myra shouted, but it was too late. Sori had already reached the open ground. Dury and Mira rushed after her, and Hanuel gave the order. "Move! Cover her." As Sori reached the survivors, she knelt beside them. The one dragging the other collapsed into the dirt. "It's okay," she said gently. "We're here to help." "I'm sorry. You're safe now." The survivor looked up with faint, tired eyes. You heard the signal." "Earth?" "Yes," Sori said. "You're safe. Just stay still." But before she could treat them, Taysak's voice came through the comms, filled with panic. "Captain, movement all around you. Multiple life forms approaching fast." A deep growl echoed across the camp. Myra spun around. "They're here." Shapes moved between the broken buildings, dark, fast, and silent.vo Arhestot, the first one, charged at Dury. He blocked it with his arm shield and pushed it back. Another leaped at Myra from the side, but she rolled away and fired a quick burst. The shot hit the creature's shoulder, slowing it but not stopping it. Haniel stood firm, firing clean shots at anything that moved too close. Protect the survivors. Hold your ground. Sori crouched low, shielding the injured pair with her body. Stay behind me. Do not move. Tasek rushed down the hill, breathless. I'm here. I can help cover. Dory fought two creatures at once, pushing them back with heavy strikes. They're stronger than before. He shouted. These ones are bigger. Myra fired again, but the creatures kept coming. Their armor-like skin made normal shots weaker. Aim for the joints. Myra yelled. Their legs and neck are softer. Haniel adjusted his aim and hit a creature's knee. It collapsed with a roar, giving Dury the opening to finish it. But more shapes appeared at the edge of the camp. We need to retreat, Tasek shouted. There are too many. Sori looked at the survivors. The one who had been dragged could barely stay conscious. We cannot leave them. She cried. We won't, Haniel said. Dury, Myra formed a shield around Sori. Tasek, call the shuttle. Now. Tasek pressed a button on his wrist device. Shuttle. Emergency pickup needed. Coordinates sent. Come fast. A loud roar made everyone look up. One of the largest Vorhis they had ever seen stepped from behind a broken machine. Its body was taller than the others, thicker, covered in heavy plates. This one is different, Mira said. Raising her weapon, the creature stared at them with glowing yellow eyes, then let out a long, rattling hiss. Dury whispered, It's calling the others. Sori held the injured survivors tighter. Please hurry. The creature charged. Haniel fired 3 stun rounds in a row. Each one hit strong, sending pulses of energy through its body. The creature slowed, but did not fall. Dury stepped in its path, slamming his shield into its chest. The impact shook the ground, but the creature only roared and swung a claw that ripped across Dury's armor. Dury! Myra shouted Dot. He stumbled, but stayed standing. I'm fine. Keep fighting. The roar of engines filled the sky. The shuttle approached fast, kicking up dust as it prepared to land. Everyone to the shuttle. Haniel ordered. Tasek and Myra lifted the barely conscious survivor. Sori helped the second one stand. The large Vorhis lunged again, but Haniel fired directly into its throat. The creature staggered back, choking, giving the team precious seconds. Dury pushed it again with his shield, forcing it away. Go! Go now, he shouted. The team rushed toward the landing shuttle. The ramp lowered, and the pilot waved frantically. Move! Quickly! As Sori carried the survivors inside, the ground shook. The large Vorhis was charging again. Dury turned to face it. Haniel grabbed his arm. Dury! Inside! Now! Dury hesitated only 1 second. Then he nodded and ran inside the shuttle as Haniel covered him. Once all were on board, Myra slammed the ramp button. The door sealed just as the creature smashed into it, shaking the entire shuttle. Take off! Haniel shouted. The engines roared, lifting them into the air. Below them, dozens of Vorhis gathered, staring up with cold, glowing eyes. The shuttle rose higher until the creatures became small, dark shapes. Inside, everyone caught their breath. Sori checked the survivors. They are alive, but barely. I need space and supplies to treat them. Haniel took a slow breath and looked at his team. Their armor was scratched. Their faces were tight with exhaustion. We learned something important today, he said quietly. The Vorhis are not just attackers. They were waiting, watching, preparing. Tasek looked at him with wide eyes. Captain, there is something else. When I scanned their movements, I detected a strange signal. It was not coming from the creatures. It was coming from deeper underground. Myra stiffened. Underground? What does that mean? Tasek swallowed hard. I think someone else sent a message. A new one. And it wasn't from humans. Everyone froze. Another signal? Dury asked. Tasek nodded slowly. Yes, very faint. Very weak, almost like someone from the Vorhis side was trying to call for help too. The shuttle fell silent. Haniel looked out the window at the wounded planet below Earth had come to help strangers. But now it seemed there were more cries for help than they expected. And some of those cries were coming from the enemy. Captain Haniel stood on the hill and looked down at the Vorhis fortress. The sky over the land was dark with smoke, and the air smelled of metal and dust. He knew this was the final place where the battle would end. If they won here, Lanthea would be safe. If they failed, everything they had done would be for nothing. His team stood beside him. They were tired, bruised, and dirty from many fights, but their eyes still showed fire. They were ready. Mira checked her weapon again, even though she had already checked it many times. She always did that when she felt nervous. She glanced at Sori, who stood close by with her medical kit. Sori gave her a small smile. Myra did not smile back, but she nodded in return. It was her way of saying she felt ready. Dury watched the horizon with a calm face. His mind was busy thinking about the Vorhis defectors they had rescued. He kept wondering if they were safe now. He wanted to believe that they were on the battleship, protected from harm. But he knew the war was not over yet, so he pushed those thoughts aside. Right now, the mission mattered most. Tazok held his tablet close to his chest. He had been studying the fortress layout for hours. The Vorhis had built thick walls and many defense towers. But there were weak spots too, places where the metal looked rushed or uneven. He had marked those for the attack. He pointed at the screen and explained the plan again. The team listened quietly. We go in fast, Tasek said. We break their outer line before they can focus fire on us. Mira leads the flanking strike. Captain Haniel pushes the main team forward. Once we are inside, we split. Dury and I go for the communication core. Sori stays with Captain Haniel to support the central fight. Haniel nodded. The plan felt tight and simple. That was good. Complicated plans often failed under pressure. Simple ones gave fighters room to think, room to react. And they needed every advantage. They moved down the hill almost silently. The ground was uneven, and broken pieces of metal stuck out from old battles. In the distance, the towers of the fortress shone dim blue lights. The Vorhis soldiers inside were preparing. They knew the humans were coming, but they did not know how far humans were willing to go to protect others. When the first alarm sounded, it echoed through the whole area. Blue beams shot from the towers, cutting lines through the air. The ground shook as explosions landed near the team. Myra rushed forward with her squad, moving fast like shadows. She fired short bursts to keep the enemy heads down. Her team followed her lead, breaking open the left side of the outer wall. Captain Haniel charged the front with strong, steady steps. He fired without hesitation. Each shot landed with force, helping push the defenders back. Sori stayed close behind him, keeping an eye on the team. She shouted warnings when danger came too close. When Dury threw a smoke grenade, she covered her mouth and stayed low. The smoke spread thick across the field. It made the lights from the towers flicker strangely. In that moment, the humans pushed forward with full force. The Vorhis soldiers tried to stand their ground, but the team moved too quickly. The humans hit like a storm dot inside the fortress walls. The noise grew louder. The metal halls shook with every step the team took. The Vorhis shouted orders in their sharp, heavy voices. But the humans did not slow down. They had come too far to stop. Tasik and Duri split off when they reached the main hallway. They moved through smaller passages, using cover whenever they could. Tasik checked his tablet again and again. He needed to reach the communication core. If they shut it down, the Vorhis could not call for reinforcements. Duri protected him from behind. He fired at anything that moved. He never wasted bullets. Every shot counted. When a Vorhis soldier jumped from a side room, Duri pushed Tasik aside just in time. The blast hit the wall instead of them. "Focus," Duri said. Tasik nodded with tight lips. His hands shook a little, but he kept going. Meanwhile, Haniel and Sori fought in the central chamber. This was where the Vorhis command group gathered their strongest fighters. The battle was loud and bright with blasts. Haniel fought with calm steps and sharp attention. Sori stayed close, helping him and the soldiers around them. Mira's team reached the rear control area. She took down a guard and moved fast to shut off one of the power feeds. When the feed broke, the fortress lights flickered and dimmed. The defense towers outside went silent. It gave the rest of the team a better chance to push forward. "Power down on this side," Myra shouted into her communicator. "Good work," Haniel answered. Tasik and Duri reached the communication core at last. It was a large metal room with a tall central pillar that glowed blue. Strange symbols moved across the screens. Tasik ran to the main console and started typing fast. "Can you shut it down?" Duri asked. "Yes, but I need a few minutes," Tasik said. Duri stood with his back to Tasik and reloaded his weapon. Minutes felt long during battle. Every second stretched as fighters waited. When the enemy arrived, the hall outside flashed with lights. Duri fired again and again, blocking the path. "Almost done." Tasik shouted dot outside. The sound of battle echoed even louder. Haniel's voice came through the communicator. "We are pushing forward. Finish the job, Tasik." Finally, Tasik pressed the last button. The blue lights in the pillar faded slowly. Then they went dark. "Communication core offline," Tasik said. Duri grabbed him by the arm. "Then we joined the captain. Move." They ran back through the halls. Some rooms were burning. Some were filled with smoke. They kept going until they reached the central chamber again. They joined Haniel and Sori just as more Vorhis fighters entered. The Vorhis leader, taller than the others, stepped forward. His voice echoed through the chamber. He shouted something in his own language. The translator on Tasik's belt caught part of it. "He says they will not surrender," Tasik said. Haniel raised his weapon. His voice was firm. "Then this ends now." The final battle hit with full force. Every fighter pushed their limits. Sparks flew everywhere. The sound was almost overwhelming. But the humans did not stop. They fought with the same strength that had carried them through every battle. So far, at last, the Vorhis leader fell. The remaining soldiers hesitated. Many dropped their weapons. Others ran. The fortress went quiet. Haniel breathed out slowly. "It's over." Sori checked the injured. Myra joined them soon after, her face tired but steady. Duri went to check the remaining prisoners. Tasik stood in the middle of the room, staring at the dark communication pillar. He felt relief wash over him. Outside the fortress, the sky slowly brightened as fires died down. The civilians from Lanthea came out of hiding. They thanked the humans for saving them. Even the Vorhis defectors, now safe, looked at the humans with respect. The team returned to the Resolute Dawn. They were tired, but they felt proud. They had done what they came to do. The galaxy would remember this day. When a cry for help reached Earth, the planet sent warriors who fought without fear. They showed no mercy to those who hurt the innocent. But they also showed kindness to anyone who wanted peace, and that was what made them truly strong.